Welcome back to AFTV, guys. Welcome back to the full-time show. Of course, this is your opportunity to have your say, so check out the number that appears on the screen, send in your videos, and we will hear your thoughts. As Arsenal draw 0-0 with Newcastle United, yeah, people are going to debate, 2 points dropped, point gained, whatever. I think ultimately it was a game of two very high-quality sides coming up against each other, both in good form, despite, Newcastle's drop points the other day against Leeds. I think you look at these as two of the form teams in the Premier League, and they cancelled each other out.
Yeah. I said that in the first half, that it was apparent that we were kind of nullifying each other and cancelling each other out. Listen, it's you can look at it like we dropped 2 points, but having said that, Newcastle are a good team. They defended very well, and let's be honest, we keep our unbeaten streak going. We keep our top of the table position. We actually extend it by a point, so it's nothing to be too alarmed about. However, I would like to say, and I'm trying to keep the lid on things. I'm trying not to be hypercritical, but you will attest to this, James. I was saying it throughout halfway through the second half. A little bit disappointed that we didn't try a couple of substitutions. When I say substitutions, attacking substitutions. Yep. Mm-hmm. I'd have liked to have seen Vieira get some minutes today. I wouldn't even have been against Marquinhos. Both of them because we had a lot of the ball. And I would say there were times in that game when we were looking slightly predictable. It was get the ball out to Saka, see what he can do. Newcastle double teamed him quite effectively, and that sort of limited our attacking options.
Yep. Well, I mean, Hunter agrees with you. He said in a super chat, says we need attacking subs. Can't expect our front four to play lights out every 4 days. We undoubtedly need some depth. We undoubtedly need, some options on the subs thing. And we're gonna break down the game moment by moment, because I do think there's an interesting sort of discussion to have around the subs. I could understand why he didn't make any. I could understand why he wanted to trust the players that are out there, but I guess we'll explore that a little bit more in a bit. So much to take in, because there's obviously no goals to talk about. There's a lot of moments with the ref. There's the subs thing. There's that first 5 minutes and how things calm down after that 5 minutes. I sort of feel like Arsenal made such a lightning start to the game that it encouraged Newcastle to drop into a shape. They weren't really pressing us. There were at times, they weren't exactly letting us have the ball. They had plenty of the ball themselves. But I think just the way that first 5 minutes went, and then us not taking control and getting a goal in that part of that really early start where we had a lot of chances. I think not taking advantage of that moment, Newcastle just dropped into a shape, and from that point on, we found it very difficult to fashion anything as good as those opening 5 minutes.
Yeah, you're right. Newcastle, after those initial 5 minutes, where, let's face it, in previous games, we've got a goal and got off to that great start. Reference the Brighton game, 1 minute, 6 seconds, we're already a goal up.
Yeah.
But yeah, Newcastle kind of saw out the early storm, and then they, came into the game a bit more. And then I think it's fair to say that we found it increasingly difficult to break them down. We knew that they were going to be good defensively. I think I'm right in saying that they're one of the best, or maybe even the best defensive team in the league at the moment. So it's always going to be a challenge. Like I said, I would have liked to have seen us try something a little bit different. And now, I know some fans are going to say, yeah, but Marquinhos and Vieira are not the answer. But you don't know until you give them a try. I mean, listen, Newcastle, they made a change. They took off Callum Wilson. You saw his face when he was coming off. He's like, what? But they brought on Chris Wood, different player. Tried something different. Didn't quite work out, but at least they tried it. I would have liked to have seen us adopt a similar mindset where we tried something a bit different. Odegaard, as much as I love him, last couple of games he's been fantastic, but in the second half especially, he was pretty much persona non grata out there.
I think what I need to see from Arteta, from the subs perspective. Let me just say this. He got some criticism for the subs after Brighton. People were saying, he brought on too many, it disrupted the flow, blah, blah, blah. I wonder if maybe he saw, how many changes he made at Brighton and how it destabled our ability to control a game. I wonder whether that was in his mind when he thought, actually, do I really want to be making these kind of changes? I think what I'd have liked to have seen, I mean, look, hindsight's a wonderful thing. I think Odegaard was having a poor game. I think maybe around the 70th minute, I'm not going to rewrite history. I think I was probably thinking, no, you just keep him on because you never know what he might do. But when you kind of see the way the game kind of fizzled out for him and he became less and less effective, yeah, in hindsight, Vieira maybe would have been an option because we know he can score goals. We know he can strike a ball. If it falls to him, maybe he's one who can connect with it well. I know Odegaard's obviously one of our top scorers, but I think maybe a Vieira sub. The other thing I would have tried is, and let me just say, credit to Granit Xhaka, I thought in the second half he came alive. I thought he was a lot better, was demanding the ball in attacking areas. And
especially when you consider
that
he had that yellow card.
Yeah.
I mean, the Xhaka of a bygone era could quite possibly have got himself sent off in that second half. But
he managed that side of the game brilliantly. I think what I might have done is brought on Tierney for Xhaka, moved Zinchenko into midfield, because let's face it, he was basically playing there anyway. He was getting forward, he was getting some touches in the box and getting to nice attacking areas, and then allow maybe someone like Tierney to overlap, maybe give a different option, give Trippier something else to think about. We know he's good at the push and run, we know he's got good delivery. Maybe Martinelli can come inside because Martinelli wasn't having a good game, so maybe he could have tweaked something on that front. But I'm going to talk about this in tactical insights, so apologies, I'll be kind of repeating all this tomorrow. But yeah, I think those are the only things he might have really been able to do. Largely, he just doesn't have the options on the bench that we need him to have.
Yeah, but I would argue, how do you know that if you don't try them? I mean, you name them on the bench, that means you're basically saying that these guys are there for a reason.
You've got to name someone.
Well, yeah, but listen, we had, I think it was like 67% possession. A quick calculations, that's 2/3 possession, twice as much as Newcastle. We had a lot of the ball. It's quite possible that Marquinhos and Vieira might have been able to create something, or maybe even score a goal. And I'm saying that, I wouldn't say it's a gamble, but try something different. Bring them on the last 10, 15 minutes. Tell them to have a real, try and take the pressure off them a little bit. Say, listen, just go for it, just do your thing. I never thought we were going to actually lose the game tonight. Did you?
No, I was more stressed about winning it. If I thought we were going to lose, I'd have been thinking that, all right, let's just take the point and get out of here. But no, I didn't feel too worried about that.
I can see why he didn't, because people are saying we didn't quite have the quality. This is a high-profile game. Two top of the table sides. You don't want to lose it. We're on a nice run. You don't want to overcommit and do anything that you might regret. But I would like to have seen him being a little bit more adventurous. Maybe the people out there watching this stream, let us have your comments. What do you think? But me watching it, that's what I felt.
We've got some super chats. Before we do, let's go to some clips of yours. Arteta's just doing his interview after the game, so I want to hear what he has to say. We'll listen to what you guys are thinking as well. We'll come back to discuss a little bit what people are saying about the referee. So let's go to your thoughts.
Hi AFTV, this is D-Man Gunner. Results in the game, it's been one of them games, I think. Newcastle defended absolutely brilliantly, we can't knock it. The game was very scrappy. We had a good start to the game, was hoping for an early goal, but I think the legs caught up with us as well. But we've tried everything we could do. I mean, Newcastle are playing brilliantly at the moment, and they're clearly showing it tonight. They're defending really well. And, we just weren't clinical enough in front of the goal. We didn't really have that many chances. Martinelli was quite on his side in the first half. And then the second half is pretty much the same story. I mean, we did liven up at the start of the second half. I thought there might be a chance of a goal here. But, then Newcastle, they knew exactly what they were doing. And it seemed like in their strategy, it just seemed like just hold off Arsenal as best they could. And it's exactly what we've done. But we gave it everything we could. And we have to share the points, but we still hold a good gap on City, so off to the next one.
Stephen and Alexander here from Pennsylvania. Tough results today, but I suppose if you can't win, then don't lose, and that's what Arsenal did today. The other interesting thing is that Jordan finally gets a prediction right on the Forever Arsenal podcast, so good for him. It was clear that Newcastle had come just to frustrate. They went down, they did all the dirty little tricks of the game, and it worked for them. some VAR decisions that just didn't go our way. I thought that was a handball, but clearly the referee didn't think so, neither did VAR. And plus, there was another incident which was not even reviewed by VAR in the first half or early in the second half. So, hey, we keep going. I still think it's a good point by the Arsenal. And what do you think, Al?
Yeah, we can say this point gain, 2-point loss debate all we want, but the penalty was Gabriel got his shirt tugged. Yeah. Gabriel got his shirt tugged, and they didn't even review it. They didn't review it.
Yeah.
Jordan, he's right. We are all looking at him. Oh, he's crazy. We're winning all these games. We're not gonna lose, but we will have teams that want to show up to the Emirates and want to get a point out of it. They're gonna play us rough and aggressive, and that's what happened today. But still a point gained. We move on, but I'm still feeling confident about this Arsenal team. So come on, you Gunners.
Come on, you Gunners! Good game. They tried their best, but there's one problem.
We need more players.
We don't have a bench.
You don't have a bench. You don't have a bench. Mm-hmm. That's the problem. Mm-hmm. One change. That's not all right. Mm-hmm. We need more players. So Kroenke, wake up now. Mm-hmm. 18 years we're waiting for that. Mm-hmm. So just
we have to win the league.
Do what you gotta do now.
Come on, man.
Spend your money.
What's up, guys? Javi from the US here. Disappointed not to walk away with all 3 points, but not a bad result considering the opposition and how, fantastic they've been defensively. They were just flooding that midfield with players and cutting the passing lanes and never, really pressing the man on the ball, just forcing us to go wide, where they, I think, felt very confident in Trippier's 1v1 ability and doubling up on Saka. So I think Arteta had a missed chance here in terms of bringing on Tierney. I think Zinchenko today was probably the best player in terms of splitting the passing lanes, and I think had they swapped him with Xhaka, have Tierney then play that fullback position and just hug the touchline and create 2v1 opportunities with Martinelli, I think it could have opened up some extra space. But that aside, I think our bench finally caught up to us in injuries. I think that this was the kind of game where we needed that impact player. And had we had Mudryk on the bench coming up against, Trippier with fresh legs, we could have seen something, because obviously Martinelli wasn't at his best today. But listen, City's got to go away to Stamford Bridge and get, all 3 points to cut the gap. That's going to be a very tough ask. So let's just keep pushing, keep on doing what we're doing, wrap up some deals in January, and keep on this title charge.
Guys, thanks for sending in your videos. Always good to see you guys. And look, the penalties and the refereeing has been brought up today. Let me just start with one thing. I'm probably getting a little bit of heat online for this. I don't think the ref actually had a bad game. Now, a lot of people are saying he gave yellow cards too quickly and disrupted the flow of the game. Yeah, but how many of those yellow cards do you disagree with? I think Eddie's one is a yellow. I think Odegaard's is a yellow. Xhaka, maybe, probably, whatever. But he was consistent. He was giving them out quickly to Newcastle as well. And quite frankly, what disrupted the flow of the game was the fouls. Even if he's not bringing out the yellow card, he's still calling the foul because they were fouls. Now, the only thing I think he got really wrong, I don't think it's a penalty at the end of the game, the handball.
What,
but
both of them? Or because
no, I don't think the Jacob Murphy handball is a penalty.
Right, yeah, the one right at the end.
But I think the Gabriel shirt pull 100% is. What are your thoughts?
No, I agree with you. I don't think the referee was at fault tonight. I think that it was a niggly game, and I think that, to be fair to the referee, both sets of players were putting him under immense pressure every single time. Crowding around him. It could be argued that he should have been a bit stronger and maybe took the captains to one side and said, look, sort yourselves out. I'll only listen to the captains, chat to your teams. He could have done that. He didn't. But looking at the game, I can't really come away from that game thinking that it's the ref because why we didn't win the game. Now,
I agree.
There was 2 penalty shouts, and I'm going to say straight off the bat that both could have been given. Mm-hmm. However, I would agree with you that on the second of those 2, I didn't think that it was compelling enough to give the penalty.
No, I don't think the second.
I've seen them given. I mean, people up there were saying, "I've seen them given." Yeah, just because we've seen them given doesn't mean to say that it's automatically a penalty in my book. However, the Gabriel one, the more I look at that, the more that is a stonewall penalty.
Jace, because he says, no, you guys are right, the ref didn't decide the game for us, we can't blame him. Other people are saying, James, what the hell are you chatting today? You two are wrong on the ref, he was awful. Roscoe says, James doing his best Jordan impression, playing devil's advocate. I'll always say I have every respect for everyone's opinions, but if you guys are going to put comments in, and that's what this show's about, it's about getting your thoughts, whether through comments, super chats, video, whatever it is. Tell us why we're wrong. I've always said this. Just let us know. Explain to us what you think differently. Just saying what you're chatting, what are you watching, what's this nonsense, shut all that. Just tell us where you. Here we go. Samuel Griffith says the ref was a disgrace in my Thai voice. Fair enough. Other people saying that it wasn't down to the ref, and I agree with them.
Listen, the ref never had an outstanding game by any means. Like we said, for me, he allowed the players to congregate around him and try and coerce him into decisions. So he showed weakness in those moments.
Yeah.
But to say that the referee is the reason why we didn't win the game, I think it's a little bit harsh. And, you know, who's to say that even if we got the penalty that we're going to score it? So it's a little bit presumptuous to say that the referee cost us.
Yeah. Yeah. Some people, yeah, Roscoe says referee was awful, guys. Again, Roscoe, man, I see you in the comments. You know, always love your thoughts and your opinions, but let us know why. What was awful? Which yellow cards did he get wrong? That's what I want to ask people. People saying he was giving out the yellows too quickly. Cool. So which ones would you have not given? You know, we're fixating on this stuff. The Gabriel pull, absolutely stonewall, but that's more on VAR. It's difficult in a huddle for a ref to spot those kind of things. The VAR's got to say to him that we think this is a penalty. So again, I think you're all going a bit overboard, or at least those who are blaming the referee. Now,
but it's a natural phenomenon, isn't it, James? We don't get the result we want, and immediately the fans, they need a scapegoat, and it's usually the ref or players.
So some people have been incredibly... Okay, so the Longhorn J says the referee needed to be stronger. He was losing control, but he wasn't favourable towards either team, in my opinion. So this is all you really want, right? You want balance. You want balance. I mean... Exactly. I don't think he was giving Newcastle stuff that he wasn't giving us. Let me take the conversation a different direction, because yes, should have had a penalty on Gabriel. Some people saying the handball was stonewall. Not for me, but not whatever. Mark Ogden has tweeted, Arteta needs to keep his head better than this if Arsenal are to win the title. It's only January. The tension hasn't even started yet. Now,
that is a point that I picked up on, wasn't it?
Right. So I've kind of got two thoughts on this. But I mean, you agree with what Mark saying that?
Yeah, well, I was saying it throughout the game.
You were saying it?
I was saying it throughout the game, and it's something that I've noticed in Arteta before, and I've commented on before, and it came to the surface again tonight. We know he's very intense. He's playing every ball from the sidelines, but you've also got to remember that you're managing in high-pressure situations, and sometimes it can transmit to the team. I'm not saying it did today. I'm just saying that maybe he needs to keep a little lid on his emotions a bit more.
Yeah.
But that's the way he is. I'm not expecting him to change anytime soon.
Jamal's asking, James, what are your thoughts on only 5 minutes at a time? That I do think the ref got wrong. I think it should have been 6 or 7 for the sheer amount of times he stopped play. But again, I don't really sit here counting it. So you see on this Arteta thing, or what Mark Ogden's saying, is I think Klopp and sometimes Pep have, in high pressure, intense games, they have risen to that tension to create almost a cauldron atmosphere in the stadium, to try and unsettle a very organised, very focused Newcastle side. I think sometimes people take what managers are doing a little bit too literally. I think managers are far more calculated than you think. I think if Arteta felt that the best way to get his team over the line was to keep calm, relax, stay quiet, and let the team do its thing, I think he'd have done that. I think he believed that, and I think he believes that he needed to use the crowd, and that he needs to use the energy and the loudness and the atmosphere to try and unsettle Newcastle, who are defending very, very well. Some people are calling them just a glorified Burnley. I disagree. I think they showed a lot of defensive quality, actually, and I don't think you can take that away from them. But on the other hand, I do think that sometimes transmitting an air of calm just allows your players to stay composed. So it's a difficult one. I don't really feel... Oh, here we go. Tuffy boy. Waffle as usual from James. What do you disagree with? I mean, I'm pretty relaxed about this result. I'm pretty relaxed. I think Newcastle are a very good side. They have been all season. They've been incredibly competitive against every side in the Big Six. And I think we gave them as good a game as any. I don't think City...
They were hanging on.
Yeah, I don't think City were this good against them. Liverpool found a way and won, but I can't remember how good they were. Spurs certainly weren't.
Not only were they hanging on, you could see from the reaction of the players and the manager after the game, you know what I mean, you saw what it meant to them.
Yeah.
Whereas we were a little bit disappointed. A lot of people would have felt that's 2 points dropped to Newcastle. They were cock a hoop. You saw their fans, weren't you? They were absolutely ecstatic at the end of that game.
Yeah, they were, and they should be. Anthony says, Anthony, I've seen your comment. Thank you very much. He's saying he agrees with me. I appreciate that. By the way, I do know there's a lot of super chats. We will be getting to them all. Apologies, guys. Some great points made there, so I want to dedicate some actual time to them. Perma says, what are your thoughts on Odegaard tending to disappear in big games? Well, I don't think he played well today, but I don't think he disappeared. I think my definition of disappearing is didn't demand the ball, didn't really put himself about, the game kind of went past him. I think he was very, very involved. I just think his decision-making and execution was lacking.
Yeah, listen, he didn't have one of his better games, which is disappointing because he's coming off the back of 2 excellent man-of-the-match style performances. So you're expecting him in a game like this to step up. Didn't quite manage that today. The reasons for that could be numerous, so I'm not gonna chastise him too much for today. It is what it is. He didn't have one of his better games, but you know.
Well, Kurt says, I'm fuming. If we want to win the league, we have to win games like this. Okay, well, in that case...
You don't have to win games like
well, yeah, I mean, I was going to say, in that case, City won't win the league either.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they've lost at home to Brentford and drew at home to Everton.
Exactly.
Those 2 results were blessings.
And the same
guys.
Everton that they drew at home to got absolutely mollywopped today at home by Brighton. So it just goes to show.
And that is the point, everyone. For anyone losing their cool and just, thinking that's it, first big test. Hold on. No. We beat Liverpool. They played very well that day. They've proven they're a good side because they've had some good results this season, even though they've been all over the place as well. We beat Tottenham 3-1 when at that time they'd had their best start to a Premier League season ever, I think. We went to the Bridge and won 1-0. Today we just didn't find a way. But we played well. We had control of a lot of the game. At times we were sort of, Newcastle did well as well. But cool, we dropped points. Our record is still 14-2-1. That's an unbelievable record.
It is.
So I think we all just need to relax a second here. Newcastle are everything this Arsenal side don't want to face. Defensive resilience, height, strength, power, dynamism, and in great form. And
I've got to give shout out to Eddie Howe. You can see they're very well coached.
Yeah, very, very well coached.
And even tactically, you saw the way they double-teamed Saka to good effect. I mean, Saka's such a good player. There were times when even 2 couldn't contain him. But they defended against Saka very well. And that is why I highlighted my slight disappointment that, to me, I felt that there were stages in the latter half of that second half where it was almost like we were slightly predictable.
Yeah.
Give the ball to Saka, see what he can do.
Well, I've got to give Arsenal credit because I actually felt they tried really hard to be unpredictable. Some of the turns Eddie Zinchenko were trying to pull off, they were trying to do things to give Arsenal a different edge and dimension that I think was largely lacking. Like I think they were trying to do things. I think Xhaka was making runs. I think Saka was going outside, inside, doing everything. So I think they tried. I think just the execution wasn't there. And that leads on to this comment. Oh, I've lost it. Jamsey says, I thought it was a bit harsh. I said that Martinelli wasn't at his best. He says we mentioned it at half time. We absolutely did. He said almost every ball until the last 10 minutes was played behind him and forced him to track back. I think there's a bit of truth to that. I don't think our distribution out to him was very good. But having said that, I think he looked... I think Trippier got in his head a little bit. I think Martinelli's decision-making was as quick as it normally is. I think normally if he's going to cut inside and shoot, he's going to go down the outside and try left foot cross into the box. I think he's normally made that decision a good half a second before he actually pulls it off. In this situation, it feels like there was a little bit more touch, stutter. Which way am I going to go? Almost trying to figure out where Trippier's looking weaker. And he's at his best when he just goes for it. And he's dictating what the fullback's going to do rather than the fullback dictating him. So
I've got to say, though, I thought Kieran Trippier had a good game today.
He did have a good game, yeah.
Experienced defender. And,
yeah, I agree.
Listen, we were up against a very good team today. So
yeah, we were.
You know what I mean? As much as we're disappointed, you also have to look at it and say, look, this was no chump team, you know what I mean? These were a good team that we're up against, and it was a hard-fought, closely contested game.
Yeah,
I do think that we had the edge. We couldn't quite get it over the line. But hey, man, we'll learn from these experiences. Like I said, my only gripe, well, I've got two gripes. One, with the manager, I think he could have been a bit more, how can I put it? Creative with his substitutions.
Sure. Okay.
A bit more innovative, try something different. But hey, people are telling me we haven't quite got the ability and talent coming off the bench. You know what I mean? That's an argument for another day, I guess.
Well, actually, sorry to cut you there. Just before we go to clips, there was a comment asking what Mudryk would have added to this game. I mean, well,
that's hypothetical, so we're not signed him yet.
Absolutely.
I think what we need to do is ask why Vieira and Marquinhos didn't get even 5 minutes. I was a little disappointed with that, to be honest.
Fair enough. All right, guys.
And my other gripe was, I think that we should definitely have had a penalty for the challenge on Gabriel. But I'm not.
I'm just watching it back. I mean, it's so
accuse
blatant.
the ref of robbing us.
No.
It's not that deep for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I see what you're saying. All right, guys, we've got a load of super chats to go through. We'll go through those in a sec. See your comments still coming on. People talking about Zinchenko. We'll touch on Zinchenko. We'll touch on Xhaka. We'll touch on Saka and Eddie's performances. I thought they were our two best players. And we'll go from there. But let's get your thoughts on some other stuff. We'll see if we can get some other guests as well on the show as well. Laurie, absolute pleasure. Always having you. Let's hear your thoughts, guys.
Did you see the Dana White clip?
We're still live, are we? Hello, we're going to clips. Production. I don't know what the Dana White clip is. Do you guys in the comments know what the Dana White clip is?
It's coming up on my feed.
I think we're still live, you know.
Are we? Okay.
Yeah. Do you guys have you seen the Dana White clip? That's what Cal says. Yeah, I haven't. No. Oh, okay. This has got quite dark. Oh, people in the comments are putting it. Oh.
And what are you saying?
Production. We go to clips. Hear what the fans are saying? No. Well, we're going to clips. Oh, we are. Okay.
Full time at the Emirates. Arsenal 0, Newcastle 0. Disappointing. It was in our hands. The referee let us down. 2 penalty shouts, which probably could have been penalties. Definitely the last handball towards the end. It just feels like a defeat, you know. But yeah, we just got to keep moving. This can't phase us. We've got the North London derby next week, which will be huge, and a cup game midweek. So it's disappointing, but we got to move on. We didn't even play that bad today. It's just Newcastle defended really well, one of the best defence in the league. So yeah, it's going to sting now a little bit, but seeing what the other big teams did when they played against Newcastle compared to us, it's not even that bad. Newcastle drew to City and we drew to them as well, so we're just going to move on. Big up everyone at AFTV, and yeah.
Well, this is Charles from London. This Newcastle game, I think the VAR were biased. Though Newcastle defended well, but we had a penalty. It was a clear penalty. You know, that player, Newcastle player, allowed his hands to swing. He's supposed to put his hands in his back, but he left it swinging. So that was a clear penalty. It's obvious the VAR didn't want Arsenal to win, but it was a clear penalty. We should have won this game. But well, we'll move on to the next one, but we should have won this game, man. I'm disappointed. We should have.
Arsenal Fan TV, this is JR from St. Lucia. Just like to say big up to James, love the content. Big up to Turkish, love your box-to-box show. Yeah, well, I was confident we weren't going to lose. I know Newcastle just can't do anything against us at the Emirates. But yeah, it's tough not getting the win. Did we play bad? Not really. I mean, you have to give credit to Newcastle. They came with a mission to stifle us. I mean, at one point, they were triple teaming Saka, and they were also triple teaming Martinelli, trying to make sure we didn't get any attacks from the wings. So, sometimes we had to take it on the chin. But, every time now this season, like, we're not used to not coming away with 3 points, so it doesn't feel like a good draw. It more feels like 2 points lost. But you know what? Let's move on to the next game. We got to beat the scum down the road. Come on, you Gunners.
Hey, AFTV, it's Michael in Boston. I'm really not so disappointed. I mean, this was a top 4 team we played. At the end of the festive season, we played so many matches and so many days that, of course, legs and minds would get tired, and we'd lose a little bit of that creative spark, that things might change or cease, which the impetuous blasts, with eyeless rage, catch in their fury and make nothing of.
Welcome back, guys. We've got Issa. How you doing, man? I've just hit my hand on the table. A really good point was just made there at the end. They were talking about the amount of games played in the short amount of time. Now, I know people will go, "Well, we've just had a big break because of the World Cup," but I think it's the general whole football schedule when you think about, all the way back to kind of Project Restart with lockdown, and then coming in and having a couple of weeks off before they went into that season. Then you had the Euros, then they had a bit of a summer off before the World Cup was wedged into this season that started earlier, and we're back to it's kind of been relentless. I know a lot of Arsenal players wouldn't have been a part of that, but some key ones like Xhaka, Saka, they all were. But when I look at the fixture list now, I mean, we've got Oxford on Monday next week, so it's a good 6 days till that game. That's a cup game, and then we don't play Tottenham.
The rest of the team as well. We'll play a weaker team.
Exactly, and then we don't play Tottenham till Sunday next week. So actually there is, and then Man United the week after. So there is a good sort of period of rest in there for the players to get back on the training ground as a collective, because they would have actually spent not that much time training together as well since the World Cup, and maybe that might help help some of the tiredness, which I know isn't really an excuse, but I guess you're always going to have a little bit of that in any situation.
Well, I think that's where, after that United game, when you got to start getting into February, that's when it's really going to kick off, right? Because then you've got the Europa League coming back, then you've got cup games, and if you get further in the FA Cup, and then it's going to be a real test of the squad. So for now, I think it's all right. And I did say, get through January, get through these 3 games. I said it at the beginning of the live for you, get through them with 7 out of 9 points. And that's not a bad takeaway, but that's where the test of the squad is going to happen. And I'm a little bit, yes, hopefully we get Mudryk, hopefully we get Felix, but I think we need at least one midfielder, because if either party, we've seen Partey had an excellent game today, Mike.
Yeah, he was absolutely super.
Just bossing it, winning possession back, calm on the ball. If he gets injured, God forbid, then what is there behind him? We need some strength in depth, I'd say, in midfield mainly. Defensively, we seem okay. Up front, we've got options, and hopefully adding to them. And then it's going to be the test of your squad. And I was just having a conversation with Cecil off camera, and I was saying, if we get to the crunch where it does start to get, fixtures piling up, I'd rather we sacrifice the Europa League.
Oh yeah.
Ultimately, I know it's nice to win a trophy, but why do you want to win the Europa League? Because it can get you into the Champions League. We're going for the title. Even if we don't win the title, we're probably got a good chance we're going to get top 4. So I think he has to be, and before the World Cup break, he wasn't doing this. He was playing strong teams in the group stages of the Europa League, and I was a little bit worried by that. I think we need to prioritise the league. We need to put all efforts into that. Use your squad where you can.
Yeah, I agree.
It's players who need games.
Isn't this why we get excited about a points gap opening up, though? I mean, I don't think anyone thought when we got to 7 points, and let's say it's now to 8, let's say it went to 10. I don't think anyone was thinking throughout the season we were just going to accumulate. That 7 will become 10, then in a month it will be 12, then a month after that will be 15, and by the start of March,
it's not how seasons go.
No, I don't think anyone thought that's what it was about. I think the reason people got excited about the points tallying, the buffer, at least I did, was because I knew what we had coming up, which was Newcastle, Man United, Tottenham as well, and it meant we could probably get through that period, which was also a very difficult period for City, in still a very, very strong position. That gives us time, with Gabriel Jesus missing, to bring in a signing, maybe 2, Smith Rowe returns, Jesus returns. That's 4, maybe 5 players that can give us a massive boost going into, February and the crunch part. I mean, isn't that the outlook most people were having on it? I don't know.
I think you're right, and I think again, and we say it, and it's a cliche, but the reason I think a lot of people are disappointed is because of how well we're doing.
Yeah.
Right? But even look at some of the best teams the Premier League's seen, right? The Invincibles, we drew a lot of games, we dropped points.
Yeah.
You're going to drop points in the season. The Centurions, the City team that got 100 points, the Liverpool team behind them got 99 points. These are all teams that they still drop points. No one wins every game. So we have to manage expectations a bit. We hadn't dropped a single point at home all season. If you're going to drop points, it's going to be to a very good Newcastle team. Defensively solid. There's a reason they haven't conceded 11 goals. And, I'm really not that upset by tonight's, result. Because if it had been a draw where you're hanging on, you're a bit worried. But we were the dominant team. We had half chances, but the better chances. And I'm really confident. Hopefully no injuries or suspensions going into that North London derby.
I've neglected Super Chats for far too long, guys. I'm really sorry. So let me just try and get them. Where have they gone? Oh, there they are. They've just loaded. So let me go through what everyone's saying. Apologies, guys. Some of these were sent in a good half hour ago, but let's actually answer them properly. So Rye says, Arsenal have been robbed tonight and fuming, guys, man. We should have had 2 blatant penalties with Byrne and Murphy. We must beat Tottenham Sunday, the 15th of Jan. Is Tottenham a must win?
Yeah, I think so. Just in terms of the message it sends to the league. We've beaten all the home teams in the top 4 so far, let's say all the big 6 teams, not Newcastle, but everyone else. We've got to win one of them away. Yeah, I know we beat Chelsea, but win Spurs away, it's a stamp on how much they're falling behind and how ahead we are. And also, yeah, you just want to get, like I said, 7 out of 9 points. It's a good tally.
Fair enough. Ishmael says, probably mentioned, but for me this game was more about Newcastle being very good in defence. We played well overall, just Newcastle held the fort. That was very much the message Turkish was giving off. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. Again, they've conceded 11 goals all season. They're a good team. Eddie Howe's got them playing how he wants them to. They're physical team, they're a massive team.
Yeah.
They didn't trouble us at set pieces either. Like, they didn't
That's
really
a good point.
Clear chances. We dealt with the threat as it was. So yeah,
I think people forget that a part of playing well is also our defence doing their job. And sure, okay, we didn't. I don't think we created as many chances as we'd have liked, even though we created some really good ones. And I think people were disappointed that we only got a point instead of 3. Credit to Saliba and Gabriel. I thought Gabriel was brilliant today. I thought Saliba far more polished than he was in the 2 games before this, since the World Cup. And they did their job. And Arsenal, again, in years gone by, these title chasing sides as well, they'll have games where they're not really at it, but the question is, can they get through it and not lose?
And just to go to the Saliba thing, right? Yes, there were a couple of times he looked a bit shaky or he gave the ball away, but he makes up for it, or someone else will make up for it. And what you notice with this team is they look like men. And I say this as someone who, I grew up, giving away my age, like the early 90s teams, so the George Graham teams, where even if it was ugly, they were men. They'd come off that field and leave everything on it. The Invincibles, again, kind of inherited that core, went on and had that kind of spirit. But I'd say for nearly 15, maybe 20 years, we've always had a soft core. Don't anymore. They look like men. Xhaka's coming into his own. Partey, Saliba, Gabriel, all of these guys are like, like they'll stand up to the fight. And that's why I said in the stream, this is a big test physically, because they're a big team, and I think we stood up to it.
Yep. Idris says, I think we really missed Jesus today. The runs he makes in the box, beating player after player, was what we need to unlock such an organised defence. I agree. I think he would have been really important for us today. But
Nketiah did well for me.
Well, I think we got to, in fact, I was going to go onto a section talking about the players, but I think this leads nicely onto it before I go into the rest of the Super Chats, is praising Eddie and Nketiah. I think if there were 3 players, you mentioned 2 of them, Partey, Nketiah and Saka is a third for me. Thought they were absolutely superb. And what I really appreciate about Eddie, sometimes people will see Eddie do something and lose the ball, but I'm appreciating that he's trying different things. He's trying to be the difference maker and do what a Jesus does, which is get it past 2 players when you're not expecting him to, show a little bit of quality and class. I thought he was very good today.
Yeah, Eddie Nketiah for me was, if Saka didn't play as well as he did, Nketiah would have been my man of the match, because every time the ball was knocked up to him, he was bringing it down, he was strong, he was holding his man off, but then he was turning straight away and running at them. Fearless. I think he had a really good game. But again, it was one of those games where, like I was saying, it was a rainy night, the ball just slips off the turf. You can't really get that.
There are a few scuffed shots.
Like, I'm not trying to be, shout out Ty, I'm not trying to blame the pitch or anything, but I'm just saying, like, it was one of those nights where it just didn't fall. Other than that, I think his performance was really good. Like you said, the others, we can get into that, but We are missing Jesus, but I think Nketiah is really doing well so far.
Yeah, I'm really happy with him. Alexander B says, not upset as Newcastle were great defensively, but the fact time wasting is so baked into the game is sad, and extra time is never correct. One of the best things from the World Cup, and I really mean this, was the way they went 11 minutes.
Yep.
And I was like, what? This is ridiculous. But Robbie made such a great point to me. It was off air. And he said, if you noticed, as the tournament went on, that the added time went down and down. It went back to more 6 minutes, 7 minutes, whatever. And that's so true, because players were learning. There's no point. If we time waste here, we're giving ourselves an extra whole 10 minutes to try and concentrate through. Yeah. I think the Premier League has to adopt this now.
Yeah. I mean, I was at the World Cup in Russia in 2018, and I saw how they use VAR really well. The Premier League then introduced it, and just so far have just been awful.
Yeah, I think on the balance of play, awful.
The injury time thing is another thing from this World Cup. Again, absolutely right. When the players realise that, oh, hang on a minute, they stop the clock, they do it with the computer, they stop it the minute you go down, the minute there's a foul. There's no point time wasting. It has to be implemented like that. It's the best way, and it just makes games more interesting. I went to the World Cup in Qatar for the first couple of weeks. I went to the Iran-Wales game. They scored the winner in the 99th minute. The Iranians, amazing. Yeah, it would have lost my head.
Yeah, so
you get those dramatic moments, and it's there wasn't 5 minutes injury time in that game. It was a lot more. Not just the time wasting. Players were getting cramp. It was a bitty game.
The amount of stoppages generally. Yeah.
I think, credit FIFA. They seem to be implementing all of this stuff a lot better than we do here.
Yeah. Dave says, great performance to control Newcastle. No subs was fine, no strong eights to bring on, and still kept control. Odegaard, Xhaka, so poor in between the lines today. I agree with everything he said there. I agree. I thought Odegaard and Xhaka. Well, I think Xhaka came alive a little more in the second half.
Yeah,
I think generally, when your wide players are so wide like Saka and Martinelli, it's going to be the Xhakas and Odegaards that benefit from that space. And there are a few times where the ball was played through the lines from Zinchenko or Gabriel, and one of them received it, and you're like, oh, this is the opportunity. And I think they just panicked a little bit in those situations.
I don't think Xhaka was that bad.
No, not bad at all.
I think Odegaard, by his own high standards, had a poor game.
Yeah. I think
he set the bar so high.
But again, this is title challenging talk now.
Yeah.
I think if this had been a year ago against this level of opposition, I think we'd have gone, Odegaard really tried today, and fair play, got involved. But it's a different expectation now.
Exactly.
Ash says, today was simply an issue of squad depth. We move. I actually think there's a lot of truth to that, I really think if Arsenal started with Jesus and Martinelli and brought on Nketiah and Mudryk, and then Xhaka comes off and Smith Rowe comes on, I honestly think we ask Newcastle way more questions. And I think those tired legs of Longstaff, who was cramping, Bruno Guimaraes was on a yellow, players like that, I think they'd have just gone, we've got more runners to deal with now.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, 100%. But you know what? It is what it is. I like the fact that the club look ambitious to address it.
Yeah,
they look like they're serious about Mudryk. Was he watching tonight?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I did a Mudryk roulette with Robbie. I said, but obviously it depends if we score. I don't think he'll do it without the goal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think. Look, at the end of the day, every squad would like to be bigger. We're not all Man City. I think we've got a very good 11. Yeah, just make those few look. I think we really need midfielders.
Yeah.
If Partey's so good, if he gets injured, we're in big trouble. Even Xhaka.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Raji says, if we brought on subs and lost the game, then Arteta would be destroyed for being naive. Just one of those games with few key chances. Can't fault him.
Fair point.
Brian says, same arm position as the pen given to France in the World Cup final. Also, Gabriel had a penalty that wasn't called when his shirt was being stripped off. Again, I'll repeat, apologies for anyone who's seen it. And Brian, in fairness, you did send the super chat a while ago. Gabriel, the pull, penalty for me. The handball, not for me. Again, I agree with people who say they've seen them given. And that World Cup final is an example of that. I don't think the World Cup final pen, I think it was Molina, or not Molina, it was the other right back. I don't think that is a penalty for me. I thought that was very harsh.
I think the World Cup's a bit different. There's a bit more distance.
Yeah.
This one was right next to him.
That's a good point.
So I think this is a lot harder to give.
Well, Tom agrees. He said the last minute pen was touch and go, but Byrne pulling Gabriel was blatant. VAR and VAR goes MIA. Also, first time I saw Martinelli look exhausted. We need cover. I agree with a lot of that as well. Big man scared of spiders, and he's got a picture of Turkish freaking out with a toy mouse. Fair play. Says, refs set a precedent giving yellow card for silly fouls. Couldn't maintain it. Started being consistent, confused players. Complaining began. Game slowed. Abdullah says, let's be positive. A rare home clean sheet. We forced Newcastle to be pragmatic. 8 points clear. Handball wasn't a pen. Gabby might have an argument with the shirt pull. And then 58 says, might be the minority, but Arteta behaved like a man-child tonight. He got young players and needs to be a better role model. We did sort of touch on that, Laurie and I. Do you think he was going a bit overboard in the touchline?
Yeah, like you do need to keep it in check. I do like the fact that there's some passion on the touchline, but you know, you're arguing with Eddie Howe, and Eddie Howe's looking calm in your face. You look like a bit of an idiot, so he needs to rein it in a bit. But it's nice, man. Like, you know, they care about winning. There's that competitive spirit. They don't want to give up an inch, and you know, you in a way you respect it.
M. Connoisseur says, he says, I don't want Laurie to leave AFTV, but someone needs to fund him his own show. Anytime he opens his mouth, there's value. Good to see him healthy again. Serious guy. Laurie is an absolute treasure to us at AFTV, and he has his own show. Go check out Talk is Cheap with Curtis. Curtis is brilliant as well. Go check out his channel, and the two of them have some great chemistry on their show. Cesar says, what do fans think Mudryk would have added today? I actually did answer that earlier. Apologies, Cesar, but that was your super chat. Babatuna says, we can't take away the quality of Newcastle's defence. Poor decision of the ref and quality in the bench. That can change the game. Our boys gave it all. Jonathan James says, unreal, no pen for Burns, shirt pull on Gabriel. Agreed. Tom says, the problem I had with the ref, Newcastle had a clear tactic of kicking the ball away every time. Now that warrants a first yellow card, but never a second. Not quite sure what you mean by that bit there, but yeah, I mean, I definitely think they had some of the dark arts, Newcastle, in fairness. Now, as I was reading those I saved, let me see if I missed any others. Doesn't look like I have. Apologies if I have, guys. Someone saying, James, check Fabrizio's Twitter account now. I'm sure you're all trolling, but I'll have a little look very quickly. Before I do, let's just do some final kind of praising of Bukayo Saka. Yeah, thought he was superb today.
They doubled up on him, trebled up on him, like I said, and he was just skidding them alive. They showed him the line. He was beating them to the touchline most of the time. I know there was a couple of times he ran the ball out of play, but I think he was exhausted at that point. There were times where he was, you know, just unplayable. He's so good, and he makes it look so easy. Like, he just does the simple things really well. He's not over the top. He's not flashy. I think he needs to be a little bit. He needs to be protected, man. Like, he needs to be protected because we can't be playing him in every game. He's so special. I want him to sign the thing, man. He needs to get on it. He needs to get on with it, man, because this is his club. He come up through the ranks. He was given his chance to shine at a very young age, and he's taken it. So he needs to sign the deal, tie himself down for another 5-6 years. And all of the players, I think it's a good project, man. It's a good place to be in your youth.
I agree. I agree. I think it's a fantastic place to be. I think that's why players like Mudryk are being so loud about wanting to join. Mark says, I used to like James, but his summary has been disgusting towards Newcastle. As in, I've been too harsh on them, or I've been too nice to them. Just elaborate, because apparently I've been disgusting. But there we go. Yeah, nothing from Fabrizio Romano, unless you guys are talking about the tweet from 2 hours ago where he says that Chelsea are genuinely trying to get Mudryk. But again, Mudryk wants Arsenal, so we'll see what happens there. I want to end on a final point that we can just discuss very quickly, which is just around look, Liverpool just went to Brentford and lost.
Yeah.
Man City have just dropped points at home to Everton. 2 Premier League games before that, they dropped points at home to Brentford. They lost that game. Tottenham are all over the place. Man United are finding some form, but when they come up against anyone who's actually seriously decent, they get worked very hard. Who else is there? Chelsea just drew at Nottingham Forest. They feel a bit of a shambles, and they'll start a whole new process. I really don't think we need to panic. I think we can come out of this week, you know, and it can be a good week. While we've dropped 2 points, Newcastle haven't gained anything on us. I think that's a big thing. City are about to go to Chelsea, and then United, and then they host Spurs, and they go to Spurs very soon, and then they come to the Emirates February 15th. We could come out of this week with as good, if not better, gap. And even if they do, so if they win, they close that to 5. Okay, 5 is still a great gap.
That's where we were. Exactly.
So, you know, and would we have expected them to be Everton? Absolutely. So, yeah, it's a bit annoying that some other clubs have been able to catch up on us a little bit, but Spurs go to Palace, Chelsea and City face each other. I think largely we're going to come out of this week pretty unscathed and with a nice rest before the North London derby. So, No panic from my
Yeah,
my end.
I agree fully. And they just City dropped points at home to Everton that just got spanked tonight.
Yeah,
so
it's a really good point.
Like, just to put it into context, they're not dropping points against the big teams as well. They're dropping points that they should be picking up, and they normally would be picking up. So, look, City haven't been great. My analysis on it has been that since the beginning of the season, they've been relying on Haaland too much. Their play has been too one-dimensional, looking for him. If it doesn't work, that usual City thing of a threat from everywhere seems to dissipate. So, in a way, I know he's banging in goals, but he's kind of unbalanced them. So, hopefully, they can continue to drop points. Hopefully, Chelsea can do us a favour this Thursday. We look good, man. We're coming out of this game having
we
played
did
like
play
that.
well today.
We played well.
We
played
play
well.
well
We're disappointed
today.
we didn't win. That's all good.
Yep. All right, guys. We'll leave it there. I think we've got some clips to round off the show, guys. So we'll look forward to listening to those now. Of course, we will be reacting to all this. There's a little bit more time than we had after Brighton to actually just look back at the last 3 days. That will mean talk about the Brighton game, which we'll do both in the Bias Premier League show and in Tactical Insight. I think it might just be me, not sure Graham's around, but there will be a show for you guys anyway. And then, of course, throughout the week, we'll then be previewing up to Oxford, talk about the FA Cup, the importance of it, forever Arsenal, come Invincibles, all the good stuff that you guys love. And then when we get to mid next week, it's all focused on Tottenham, isn't it? All right, guys, we'll leave it there. Thomas says, James, why can't you see it? Mudryk is done. Well, it's not yet. Until it is, it ain't done. I've seen a lot of transfers go wrong. Okay, we'll leave it there. Guys, big thank you. Always a pleasure, Lisa. Really enjoyed it. Where can people find you, by the way? Sorry,
I'm on Instagram, the Instagram. So, you can follow me up there as well.
All right, guys. Come on, Arsenal. Let's keep this title charge going.
Hi, everyone. This is Tal from Riyadh. Actually, it was, a very entertaining game. However, we couldn't score, and this is the first time, I believe, in this season that we were unable to score in any of our matches. The thing is that, again, refereeing in England is a very big question mark for me. I don't understand what qualifies to be a penalty. Okay, I'm not talking about the handball towards the end of the game, but to be honest, I'm talking about that corner kick where the Newcastle defender ripped off literally Gabriel's t-shirt. Okay, Messi in the World Cup got a penalty for less than that, and this one wasn't good enough to qualify to a penalty. Aside of that, we've done well. Okay, the performance was great, to be honest. Odegaard and Martinelli weren't themselves today, and I can understand a lot of games in a very short period. Maybe fatigue is a factor now. But let's keep it on. It was a good game. I wanted these 3 points specifically from you.
What's going on, AFTV? Dini here. Tough day at the office today. Newcastle were a tough opposition. They were tough to break down. I mean, we opened them up a couple of times, but it just wasn't there today. And you know what? That's what it is. You know what? Newcastle are absolutely no mugs this season, and it is what it is. We're still top of the table regardless, but Man City can close the gap again back to 5, of course, which is a bit annoying, but regardless, it is what it is. But I think it's what is it? Is it FA Cup on the weekend? Let's secure that. Let's secure 4th round, and then we go to Tottenham. So, annoying, but it's not the end of the world. We keep on going. On to the next one. Come on, you Gunners.
Good evening, guys. Lee from South Africa. Difficult game. Obviously, we know Newcastle, they use a lot of tactics to slow the game down. No surprises there. We didn't play particularly badly. I wouldn't say we played too badly, but what I will say is it's quite clear that we do not have that spark coming off the bench to make a difference. Obviously we know Jesus is out,
And I do think the signing of Mudryk is quite important now, because we need a plan B. We need someone that can come on, fresh energy, and can create something, something a little bit extra. That's what wins you Premier Leagues. That's what wins you matches. And I think it's quite clear. I think hopefully tonight has shown Mikel Arteta and the board that we really do need that extra spark on the bench. I mean, you look at our bench tonight. I was hoping to see Smith Rowe on the bench. Unfortunately, he wasn't on the bench. But I mean, someone like him, someone like Mudryk, someone to come on and just change it a little bit, give us that extra spark. So good game though, good point. Look, it could be a very valuable point towards the end of the season. Let's still hold our heads up high. They didn't beat us. But we have to go into the next 2 games now with the aim to win, and hopefully with someone like Mudryk on the bench. Have a good one, guys. Cheers.